And welcome. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we are the creators of the blog and this YouTube channel called Nutmeg Notebook. And this is where we share all about our whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Today we have a special guest with us. It's Doug Evans. We're going to be talking about sprouting. But before we get started with that, Tom wants to go over a little bit of housekeeping with you.
Actually, our moderators, it looks like on the chat feed here, already give us some instructions. So I can spot questions for Tami and our guests in the chat feed. Those 4 little question marks before and after the question help them jump out at me and gives me a better chance at spotting them. So if you would do that for me, it'd be great appreciated. We'll kind of get things started with Tami and Doug here in just a minute. And
also in the show notes, you want to talk about what we have in the show notes?
Oh, thank you. That was a smooth prompt. Okay. In the show notes.
Oh, I am everything, including smooth.
Okay. In the show notes are some informational links. We have a pile of sprouting seeds we got here from the Sproutman. There's a link for Sproutman in the show notes. I also have our Amazon affiliate link for Doug's sprouting book listed in the show notes.
Oh, also tell them if they use our code, they get a 10% discount.
I wasn't going to tell them
that. Well, I think that's kind of an important thing.
No, I was going to leave that for her to tell you.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to steal, her contribution. But yeah, Sproutman arranged a discount code for us. Nutmeg gets you 10% off of whatever the price is. When you do go on their site, be careful. There is a banner that shows whether you're signing up for a renewing prescription price or a
subscription, not a prescription. Well, those
Sprouts,
it's
like a prescription.
Although Sprouts are like a prescription.
But we're not a medical channel. We don't give medical advice. We're not doctors. But if you want to think about Sprouts as a prescription, that's your choice. There's a subscription price and a one-time purchase price. And you want to make sure that you change that colored banner, click on whichever one you actually want. And the price will adjust accordingly. And of course, on the one-time purchase price, then you get the 10% off. So anyway.
So all of that information is down below.
In the show notes, along with a bunch of other information.
Yes. And then did you talk about our Amazon link for the things that I'm going to show that we use?
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick look at that. Let's go to our Amazon page. Take a quick look here. Okay. This is the Nutmeg Notebook Amazon page. And Tami put in which category? Do you remember which category you put it in? Is it in kitchen gadgets and utensils?
No. It's in
food
prep, serving.
There you go.
Food
prep and serving. Okay, so this category right here, we're after these items here. So if you click in there, these are the resources that Tami has been using, and they show up right here. These lids and these, whatever these racks are, have been living on our kitchen counter quite a bit in recent days. So anyway, that is another resource link that is in there. Okay, let's come back to you
gonna put it on me?
Yeah, to Tami Cam here.
Okay. Well, let's get going, you guys. So our special guest today, as I said, is Doug Evans. And Doug is a pioneer in the natural food industry. In 2002, he co-founded Organic Avenue, one of the first exclusively plant-based retail chains in the country. He then created Juicero, the farm-to-glass automatic cold-press juicer, with the mission of bringing fresh processed foods to the home.
When are we going to ask him how he pronounces it?
Well, I'm going to ask him. I probably said it wrong. Doug lives.
This debate's been going on. We got to settle this now.
Oh, well, just let me finish introducing him. Doug lives in the Mojave Desert on a permaculture hot springs oasis. Doesn't that sound amazing? He is the author of the incredibly informative book called The Sprout Book. Doug has given us the blueprint to a plant-based way of eating that is low cost and accessible to all. And as you can see, I've already got lots of things tagged in this because I am all about sprouting now. And sprouts are one of the most nutritious, sustainable foods on earth. And including them in your plant-based lifestyle is going to save you money, which you guys are always asking me about that. It's going to help the planet. Of course, it saves lives of the animals, and it's going to supercharge your health. So with that, welcome, Doug Evans.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Tami. I've been looking forward to this all weekend.
Oh, that's great. I'm just so excited. I've been like just all obsessed with sprouts lately.
Did you, in your notes, are you going to talk about how we kind of got pulled into this whole conversation from about a year ago?
Oh, well, people got excited. They saw your interview on Rich Roll and with my friend Chef AJ. And then people started emailing me and leaving me comments on Facebook and on YouTube
we
and
were
saying,
getting poked and prodded every
when are you going to start sprouting?
When are you Nutmeg? No, but people are going to start showing us some stuff with sprouts on it.
And I had done some sprouting years ago because a friend of ours is a grocery store manager, and I was buying sprouts at the time in the grocery store. And when he found that out, he was like, please don't ever buy the sprouts in the grocery store. We have so many problems with them, with bacteria and stuff, because we don't have a high turnover. So sprout them yourself. And so I did for a while, but then, life got busy and it was just, set aside, and I didn't continue with it. But then I watched your interview with Rich Roll, and I watched the one with Chef AJ after everybody was telling me about them. And I was like, why am I not sprouting?
Exactly.
How did I get this information? I mean, when I was sprouting years ago, it was just because of, the fear of bacteria and because I liked how they tasted, but I had no idea how beneficial they are to our health. So why are the sprouts the perfect food?
It's really interesting, Tami, because you and I are very similar, right? So I started to sprout 25 years ago, but it was always as a novelty, as a garnish, or as something like I would do on the side. And then when I moved into this yurt, right, in the Mojave Desert, all of a sudden I realized not only am I in the desert, right, I'm in a food desert.
Yeah.
And so that was, questioning me, like, what was I going to do to eat, right? Where is my sustenance going to come from? Because I will not violate my standards. I have really high standards for food, for consumption. And so first day I drove over 3 hours round trip to Whole Foods by Palm Springs. And I was like, that's not going to work. And then, you mentioned permaculture. So I hired a permaculture consultant, and turns out to create a permaculture farm and to grow your own food in a garden in the desert takes months, if not years.
Yeah.
Right. And all the indoor gardening, like those herb gardens and grow your own stuff, those all took weeks. So I was saying, what can I do right away? And then boom, like sprouts, like I got the sprout download, like that came to me, and like I've never looked back. Within 30 days, most of my calories were coming from sprouts that I was growing in 1 cubic foot. So that was like number one, like had I get reactivated. So the seed was planted in my head, sprouted. Then after about a month of consuming mad, copious amounts of sprouts, I said, this is too easy. Like maybe I'm missing something, right? So maybe I'm missing something. So that's when I reached out to Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. Dean Ornish, Dr. Joel Kahn, and they're all in the family, right? They're plant-based. So they were all closet sprouters. They loved sprouting. They were into sprouts. They got it. Then I said, let me reach out a little bit more mainstream. So I reached out to Dr. Oz. I reached out to Dr. Josh Axe. I reached out to Dr. Mercola, right? And turns out they were also sprouters and they loved sprouts. And so that gave me the confidence that sprouts were A-okay. You could get it. And then layers and layers of information started to come to me. And so then I said, I need something to do where I can feel on purpose, on mission. And so having never gone to college, I said, I'm going to write a book, which is, you know, my normal communication. You see, you write me 3 paragraphs, I send you back a fragmented sentence, right? I said, I'm going to write this book because this information is so important that it's not going to, like, you know, basically have a little emergence like what happened with Dr. Ann Wigmore and Dr. Viktoras Kavinskas and, you know, Steve Meyerowitz, like the Sproutman, like these people came and then like the Sprouts like went by the wayside. And I said, this has to be something that's so powerful, like it's going to be a wave and it's going to grow a wave into a mountain and will become a staple of the global food supply system. And so that's when I said, all right, I'm going to write this book. I went to New York. You know, I pitched one publisher, St. Martin's Press, part of Macmillan, because like I have all the respect for anyone who writes a book, right? I wanted distribution. I wanted to make sure the book was sold around the world, wherever books were sold. And if someone doesn't have the book, you can get it on Amazon. But my recommendation is call your local bookseller and they will have the book for you in days. Like they're happy because they get books, the whole supply chain, and our book is in the supply chain. Miraculously, but not to a surprise, the book is in the 7th printing right now.
That's fantastic. Printing. And so, people, if wherever you live, you know, not everyone can afford to buy the book, but contact your local library and ask them to purchase it so that people who are interested but maybe don't have the funds for it can go to the library and check it out too. Buy it if you can. Please buy copies and give them out to people, but also make a request to your local library as well.
I mean, that's a great idea. So on to Sprouts. So this is the way I look at Sprouts, why Sprouts are so important. And I'm speaking to you and to your audience that's awake, right? So I'm going to say things on this interview that I wouldn't say like on Good Morning America, because I don't want them to drag me off, you know, the show as some quack. Okay. But you're more patient and you will resonate with this. So the number one thing about Sprouts that I'm over the moon with, Sprouts are vegetables. Okay. Get it? They're vegetables. Sprouts are just a little label for the vegetables. So if you think about broccoli, there's big broccoli and then there's little broccoli. The little broccoli are called broccoli sprouts. So from a level of food, the fact that you can take 2 tablespoons, 20 grams, if you talk about grams, add water, use a jar, and turn those into 150 or 200 grams, like 6 cups from 2 tablespoons. That is amazing. And that takes days, not weeks, months, or years. Days, you can start growing your own vegetables. If you look, I did a post on Instagram yesterday about like pea shoots, right?
Yes,
you took 2 cups of pea shoots and it looked like you had a football field out of pea shoots. Like you can't tell them not to grow, right? You just, you know, give them a lot of water, give them a little water. Like these things just want to grow. And peas are one of the #1 ingredients into protein powders, which I'm going to get to next. But #1, Sprouts are vegetables. Vegetables are food. And so every benefit of the whole food, plant-based diet can be achieved by eating Sprouts. So it's extreme for someone to say, oh, am I only going to eat Sprouts? But I will tell you that you could. Like Sprouts are the #1 survival food. Like while people in LA were fighting over toilet paper, right? My biggest concern is what's happened if they don't have food, right?
Yeah.
Turns out we have different levels of what we call food, what they call food, but it didn't get there. Like it stopped at toilet paper and what do you call that? I don't even use it.
Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, the Purell, like the alcohol. So like, let them have it, right? Just let them have it. You know, wash your hands if you need to, but don't like flood them with alcohol. But
so Doug, what is a sprout? What is a sprout?
So a sprout actually is a complete plant organism that takes a seed, and when you germinate the seed, it sprouts out. So the seed contains an endosperm, an embryo, and an outer shell, and a bunch of other magic and life force in it. A seed is in a dormant state. So seeds have been known, as I referenced in my book, to last for 1,200 years. Seeds can last a really long time in a dormant state. When you germinate a seed, you get a sprout that shoots out of the seed. That's a sprout. So if you look at like the cover of the book, these are all sprouts. These are all sprouts. And turns out every vegetable has a seed as part of its circle of life to reproduce. So if you think about one broccoli seed, germinated, becomes a broccoli sprout. You can eat the seed, you can eat the sprout. If you let it grow more, it'll turn into a broccoli microgreen. You let it grow more, it'll look like a little herb. You plant in the ground, you wait 6 months, it'll grow into mature broccoli with florets. You let it grow longer, those broccoli florets, the broccoli plant will flower, and then there will be pods with more seeds. So theoretically, practically, literally, and figuratively, that one broccoli seed can multiply itself 1,000-fold. Like 1,000-fold. In 2 generations, it's 1,000-fold. In 1 generation, it's 300 to 600 seeds can come from one seed. So that's what a sprout is. It is a smallest edible version of a vegetable.
Okay. So is there a difference nutritionally between the sprout, the microgreens, and grasses? Is there one that's more nutritious than the other?
Well, if you think about things that are small, that are alive, contain within them the DNA, intelligence, and complete organism. So as the sprout grows into the microgreen, into the grass, into the vegetable, it's gaining more fiber, but it's not gaining more of the powerful compounds like glucoraphanin and myrosinase and the precursors to sulforaphane. So what happens is as the vegetable gets bigger, it's gaining more fiber and it's becoming alive in leaves. I believe that in the smallest form, you are getting the highest concentration of the 13 vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, bioflavonoids, antioxidants, prebiotics, probiotics. Like they're all in the small sprout. And as it gets bigger, it gets prettier and it shifts in taste. One of the things, and by the way, Robbie Barbero from Mastering Diabetes asked me this yesterday, and I just want to really clarify. I believe in the whole food plant-based diet. I happen to eat whole food plant-based diet raw and living. So I'm all for eating watermelon, right? I'm all for eating pineapple, where in the pineapple, you break off the top, you peel the side, you remove the core, and you're getting chunks of the watermelon, right? One of the things that's magical about sprouts is you're eating the whole thing. Like a difference between sprouts and microgreens, you're cutting them above the root. The sprout, you're eating the root. Like we don't even know what kind of magic is inside of that root. We know that root vegetables are good. We know that roots are good. Roots have root hairs, roots have proteins, but most of the research is going towards packaged, processed, refined food. So it's not going into the individual polyphenols and antioxidants and proteins that are in the roots of sprouts that are happening. But that's a magical thing that I want to. So I'm all for eating whole foods, right? And I love the fact that sprouts are authentically the whole food.
Oh, I love that too. And, you know, we're whole food plant-based and we want to get as much nutrition in us as we can. We have 3 grandchildren that small grandchildren that are also whole food plant-based. And, you know, we want to pack in as much nutrition to them as we can. And it seems like sprouts are the way to go because a very small volume of them packs a big, powerful punch of nutrients for us. And like I could make a smoothie and, you know, for the kids, and I can throw in some broccoli sprouts and really increase the nutrition of that. Because, you know, they're little, they have tiny bellies. They're not going to, you know, sit and eat a giant plate of broccoli, but I can give them broccoli sprouts. I mean, it's just so amazing to me. And there was a lot of information in your book about broccoli sprouts, and there's been a lot of studies done on broccoli sprouts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the things, like I'm going to just back up one little point.
Sure.
So I look at sprouts as 3 things. Number 1, I look at them as food. Number 2, I look at them as nutrition, vitamins and minerals. And so as opposed to taking, and this is from me, from my own experience, I don't want to tell anyone what to do, but for me, like I don't take a multivitamin. And my experts advise that the best way to get your vitamins and minerals is through whole foods, right? So I look at sprouts as whole foods. And then when we talk about like protein, like people marvel at the idea that 1 cup of sprouted chickpeas is 35 grams of protein, right? So the fact that the legumes, the lentils, the peas have so much protein in them is extraordinary. And so if you want protein in your smoothie, you know, as opposed to like my motto, no way, no W-H-E-Y, right? No way, right? But I would prefer, even over pea and hemp, you know, and other things, add a handful of peas or lentils or garbanzo beans into your smoothie if you want more protein. I don't think I have a protein deficiency. So, but you could do that. The third is what you're talking about is I look at sprouts as medicine, right? So if you want to treat acute and chronic illnesses, there's like a whole world now, right? In 2021 of 34,000 functional medicine doctors in the United States that are prescribing food as medicine, right? So we're like back to the future of Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. We now have doctors that are recommending whole food, plant-based food as medicine. And so if you peel that down specifically, you know, there's Dr. Jed Fahey from Johns Hopkins University, who is the pioneering living researcher today on broccoli sprouts so pretty much cruciferous vegetables are known to have like anti-cancer fighting properties. So cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, arugula, all of these, bok choy. And so in the cruciferous family, right, they have these anti-cancer compounds that form sulforaphane, right, which is known to kill the cancer cells. So it turns out if you take broccoli has the most, and broccoli sprouts is off the charts. So mature broccoli versus broccoli sprouts on a per gram basis, right? So if you're comparing volume to volume, can have 20 to 100 times the anti-cancer properties of mature broccoli. So if you were to look at diabetes, I did a podcast with Dr. Cyrus and Robbie from Mastering Diabetes.
Yeah.
And they are like, oh my God, sprouts are the perfect food for diabetes type 1, type 1.5, type 2, gestational diabetes. Like sprouts are a great food for diabetes. Now, sprouts are a great food for weight loss. So I'm not saying that sprouts are a cure for anything, but they are a great treatment. And there was also research, and I referenced it in my book, about how autism can be treated with broccoli sprouts. And there's probably 1,500 peer-reviewed, published studies, white papers on the efficacy and use of broccoli sprouts as medicine for treating these both chronic and acute illnesses.
Yeah, I was amazed at that when I read that in your book. And I know a lot of our viewers will probably be interested in the part that you said about weight loss. What I have noticed, because at first, you had said, just start adding sprouts to all of your meals. And so I always have a big, beautiful, raw, chopped salad for my lunch every day. And so I started adding sprouts to it. Well, what I have come to realize is the sprouts are incredibly filling. They have a tremendous amount of fiber. And so I'm making my base salad smaller so that I have room to add all of those sprouts, because the sprouts fill me up so much. I'm amazed by that, how filling they are.
Well, it's really interesting, Tami. And I want to just throw in one point. Number one, I stopped buying greens, right? I'm only using sprouts as the base of my salads. Like, I've given up buying greens because the greens that you buy in the health food store could be like a week or 2 weeks old. So they're much better than 98, 99% of anything else that's in the health food store. But the fact that I could be growing my own greens and every day having a fresh supply, that's incredible. But I want to say that I am a proponent, and in the book, it's all about growing your own sprouts. To be fair and to recognize the current sprouts sold in the supermarkets, the ones that are bold enough to sell, are really high quality today. They're using high quality seeds, they're washing them, they're testing them, they're packaging them, and they're more popular. So I want to say that when we did the research to look at food safety, that commercially grown organic sprouts sold in supermarkets today, I give them a thumbs up. And if you can afford $3 or $5 for a little serving, God bless you. They're there. I support that. Where sprouts can be tricky is in the cross-contamination with fast food chains, where they may mix the sprouts with something else and the people there aren't in the same control. So the safest way, in my opinion, is growing them on your own. Second would be to buy them in a package, sealed package from a reputable supermarket or health food store. And I would avoid eating sprouts, at a catering event or at a food truck, or at a fast food restaurant. I want to really put that out there.
That's great advice. So Tom's got a question.
We've got a few questions we'll be catching up with, but one's resonating right now. The question was, is there any concern about preventing listeria in your homegrown sprouts? And it sounds like currently there's less of a concern about that in quality store-bought sprouts at this point. But is there any issue with that kind of thing in homegrown sprouts?
I mean, look, I think that today we have access to sprouts to seeds that can be tested for pathogens, and you at home can be responsible for properly washing, sterilizing your sprouting equipment, and then also monitoring them as you go. So to me, I would say it's not a concern. Like, I'm out there, literally every day, speaking to people around the world, and I have not had one reported instance of foodborne illness from homegrown sprouts, just not in the consciousness. What happens is there are no major food companies that are promoting sprouts. So you can get one little, incident 13 years ago, and it's still hangs out in the internet. And then people are like, oh, sprouts are not safe. And I'm like, where are you getting your data? So I think that in my book, I mapped out different ways to take extra levels of caution and precaution if you want to do another level of rinsing and sterilizing of the seeds. And I'll talk about it quickly, but whether it's parasitic acid or hydrogen peroxide or grapefruit seed extract, there's different ways to do it. As much as like, if you don't want all those exotic things, like you can even use chlorine bleach to wash and rinse and then rinse it off. Like there's all these different levels that you could do. I'm not for the chlorine, but I don't want to hold someone back. If someone's really paranoid and they want to bleach the seeds to make sure that they're killing everything but the seed, you can go ahead and do that.
Oh, one question for you. Someone wanted to know if washing the jars that you're using for sprouting, if you put them through the dishwasher, the jars and the lids, is that enough to like sanitize them?
Yeah, I think the level, if you're using soap in the dishwasher, you're using hot water, then you want to make sure that there isn't remnant debris inside that could be collecting or aggregating bacteria.
Okay.
So hot water and soap and a good rinse, like very good. I think more of a challenge with making sure that in those screens and the lids,
yes,
you're not getting and collecting stuff. So that's where I would pay the extra attention. I'd get a good brush, I would, use different things to really clean that out well.
Okay, that's good advice. Thank you so much. So, well, let's talk about, should we talk about how people can get started? And first, I want to tell you guys, if you're interested in sprouting, I highly recommend that you get the book because like Doug was saying, he goes through everything step by step. Every chapter is telling you exactly, laying it all out, what you need to do in order to be able to sprout and sprout safely and how to do it. But we can, give you the simple version here. So do you have a preferred method between using bags, jars, or trays?
I think that the easiest way for anyone to get started is using I prefer glass, but I don't want to stand on ceremony, using any glass jar. Now that's a fancy ball mason jar with a nice lid and a screen on it. You could start with going to your local restaurant or grocery store and getting like I'm about sprouting for sustenance. So I like to get these big 1 gallon glass jars that they're normally like throwing out or recycling, and then getting some cheesecloth and a rubber band, right? So free supplies. And then I like to buy bulk organic lentils. I like the French lentils. So there you go. So organic lentils. Sproutman, you could take those lentils and you just take the jar, you fill it with water. Depending on the size of the jar, you can either put a half cup, a whole cup, 2 cups in it, let them soak for 8 hours, then strain off the extra water, rinse them twice a day. Now, here's the thing which is amazing. You can start eating those lentils in 24 hours. Sprouted lentils in 24 hours, you could start eating them. If you wait till like 3 days, 5 days, all of a sudden you start to get a tail, they start to metamorphosize. And when you take lentils and you sprout them, you double the antioxidant levels, you triple the vitamin C, and within 1 week, you're quadrupling the volume. I mean, it's just extraordinary to me, and they taste good. Like
we've good. Sprouted them. They're delicious. We love we love to add them to things. So this is the salad mix from Sproutman, and this is my day 5.
Wow, beautiful bounty you got there, Tami.
I know, and so these are so delicious. And this is a larger jar, and this is one that I got at a health food store. It was like $5.
Yeah.
For the jar. And it came with a lid, and I did your hack. You did your hack on YouTube. So I didn't do it. Actually,
Yeah,
Tom did
that
the
was
hack.
such, you
So
know,
tell them what we're
when
talking about.
Doug, was it in the book or one of your posts, talked about those metal lids. It looks like it's chrome.
It looked like it was stainless steel, but it's not. The lid that came with this.
It was already starting to corrode with just a few uses. And then she said, well, this guy, Doug Evans, said you should take that off. And I pried and pushed and prodded and with just determined persistence, because it wasn't super difficult, but it also was not easy. It just took time to slowly tease that thing off to get down to where we're not having rust and corrosion now.
Yeah.
So
well, I'm going to do it. Thomas, I'm going to do a new hack. I now know how to get it off very, very easily.
Oh.
What you want to do is take it and get really, really hot water.
Oh.
And then when you put the lid on the jar, and after you soak it for 3 minutes in the really hot water, turn the metal even further. So you tighten it as much as you can. The plastic will lock on the grooves of the glass, and then you keep turning and the metal will come off.
And thermal expansion, since it's a ring, causes that ring to open up a few microns, just enough to loosen it. Genius.
Yeah, well, also they put glue on, and the heat of the and the hot water will cause that glue to fan.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so I keep something going in this big jar, you know, every week. This one happens to be the salad mix from Sproutman. And so these are ready. So once they get, well, here's the one thing, like, how do people know when they're done? When the sprouts are ready to eat, what do you tell people? How do they know that they're done?
So number one, like the sprouts, seeds are edible, right? So you can eat the seeds, you can eat the sprouts on day 1, 2, 3, 4. Most sprouts are ready to eat, right? Where they're turning into food volume in day 3, 4, or 5. Like that's when I tell them to eat it. You definitely don't want to eat them if they smell foul, right? So you want to use your nose to smell foul. You also want to look at them and make sure like you're not seeing mold, brownness, mealy, like when the white roots or the shoots start to turn brown, no, you don't. So that's one of the things, like I spent a lot of time creating the charts, which the guidelines for each seed, right?
Yes. And that's in the book, you guys. There's charts, which this is so helpful for a beginner to know. It tells you how much seeds to use, how long to let them soak, and then how many days it's going to take to sprout them.
Exactly.
That's very helpful.
Okay, so where do we go next, Tami?
Okay, so then, well, I want to tell people to follow you on Instagram, Doug Evans on Instagram, because you're on there every day posting videos and talking about sprouting and giving hints. And I've learned a lot. So like I've been like stalking you on Instagram to get information. Okay, so well, we want to talk about where to purchase the seeds from. And you do talk about that in the book, but you don't want to just like, when I first got started, we went to the health food store because I wanted to get started like that day. And I bought sprouts, but I think they were the seeds, for sprouting, but I think they were really old. Even the jar looked old that they weighed them out. And I didn't get a lot of volume. But then when we went online and ordered from one of the companies that you had recommended, the volume of what I get from sprouting is so much greater. So do you want to talk about that?
So I think that, today, there are places like Sproutman, like True Leaf Market, like Johnny Select Seeds, that Mums, that Sprout People. There's a whole bunch of companies that are doing a really good job selling sprouting seeds. So the big thing, you want to get organic because we don't have a glyphosate deficiency, right? So we want to get organic seeds, and you want to get seeds, if you can, that are designed for sprouting. Now, every day people are showing me these fancy pictures where they're getting great results using, Bob's Red Mill seeds or other organic seeds, and they may work. They just may not be tested for pathogens. So I'll eat them, but my preference is to raise the standard and get organic sprouting seeds that have been tested.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you about that. So once they're sprouted, then we should store them in the refrigerator. And about how long do they last in the refrigerator, do you think?
The interesting thing, since the vessels are so inexpensive, right? And, there's one chapter in my book called Junkyard Dog, where I was basically taking things that were just lying around in the recycling bin and using them for sprouting. I like to do small batches in many different vessels on a different time schedule so that I'm harvesting fresh sprouts every day to eat. And if you do that, like, you don't have to worry about storing. If you do want to store, the two important things about storing is, number one, you want to dry them off. You do not want to put wet things into the refrigerator. And then two, you want to look at the date and then take a Post-it note or a piece of masking tape or something and a Sharpie and write on it your own use by date. Like, you don't want to rely on memory for your sprouts, especially if you have a lot of jars going on and in the fridge. And if you start to using sprouts as your core vegetable in the salad, you're going to be going through them and you're just going to be multiplying.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So what I do, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but one of our subscribers told me, go ahead and use a Sharpie on the glass because it will wash off, and it does. So I put on here how many tablespoons I put in it and the date and the day of the week that I started them. So because I'm still learning. And so I want to know, when did I start these? How old are they? How much, what was my yield from how many tablespoons I used? And then I transfer them to a different container so that I can start sprouting again when these are done, so that I've always got, and I have different jars going, of course, with different things sprouting in them, but you can actually write on here with a Sharpie and it'll come off. Okay. So are there any parts of the sprouts that people shouldn't eat? And can you eat too many sprouts? Somebody wanted to know, could you eat too many?
Too many. I think that we have a problem in the United States with overeating, right? Mm-hmm. And what I have found that because the sprouts are alive and they're so nutritionally dense that it's really hard to eat the sprouts unless you're hungry, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy to overeat things that are laden with salt, oil, sugar, MSG, and all this other stuff. Raw sprouts, really hard to overeat. So I don't know of any instances of overeating sprouts. I think what will happen if you do overeat too many, you'll start to feel bloated and you'll probably be having some massive flatulation, which will pass. And then the next time you're going to feel like, okay, maybe I don't need to eat so many sprouts at this point.
Which I think that's good. That's why they're good for weight loss, I think, because, and whole foods in general are just good for weight loss, because I tell people all the time, they're self-limiting. You could sit down and eat a whole bag of Oreos or an entire bag of potato chips, but you're not going to sit down and eat a 5-pound bag of apples, or, you're not going to sit down and eat, a whole
bag of broccoli,
a whole bag of a big
raw broccoli. Yeah, I think that's the thing that, how much should people be eating? To me, I recommend eating sprouts first, because it's very hard. You got to be a fanatic to eat broccoli sprouts as dessert, right? So I really recommend eating sprouts first and eating as much as you can eat until you're not hungry or you are full, right? And that's it. And like, I don't really look at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I want to eat, in the window when I'm awake and most active, right? So my primary feeding window is between noon and 6 p.m. And then I eat as many sprouts as I'm tuned in till I'm not hungry. But like, if I show you, I have like so many like of the pea shoots, like dinner tonight might just be pea shoots and an avocado with some sauerkraut. Like that may be like my golden meal for today.
Well, I love your Nori Wraps, and that was so much inspiration for me. I saw you make those and eat those on your Instagram account. And so I started taking my chopped salad, and I'll take a sheet of nori. I'll put a little bit of homemade hummus that I make with no oil, homemade hummus, and then my chopped salad. And then I'll fill it with sprouts and roll it up and eat it. And that is like the best meal ever. I cannot believe how delicious that is for as simple as it is.
Right. Well, look, I think the whole thing is once you kind of shift your desire to eat healthy, there's so many options, right?
Yeah.
And I feel no deprivation, right? I love my fruit. Like if I'm eating sweet things, I'm eating fruit, and I love my sprouts, and I love seaweeds, right? So I feel very complete, right? I'm 54. I just turned 55 last week, and
happy birthday.
Thank you. And I'm feeling like just incredible, like just because I've raised my standards of what I'm willing to consume, and I keep active.
Fantastic. So Trish wanted to know, she wrote to us, and she wanted to know if we could ask you how many calories are in sprouts?
So sprouts can be very low calories, right? You can have an 8-ounce cup of like the garden variety sprouts and be like somewhere like 30 calories, right? Or you can have an 8-ounce cup of garbanzo beans and have 380 calories, right? So as you get thicker and denser, like the sprouts don't lie, they will be thicker and denser in your calories. It's very possible to consume 2,000 calories, with sprouts in the course of the day if you're eating the peas and lentils and garbanzo beans, right, mixed with a variety of others. So I think you have to think, do you want volume, or do you want protein, or do you want calories? Like they're all in the sprouts, and you can decipher what your goal is and then eat towards your goal.
Okay, that makes really good sense. We had a question from Paula and John Warren, and they live in Boise, Idaho, and they said that they bought, and they sent pictures, so Tom's going to put the picture on screen. And they bought these stainless steel stacking trays.
Yes.
And the problem was that when they were ready to take the sprouts out, they had a mass of roots below the screen, which were not easy to remove at all. And they wanted to know if you had any suggestions for them.
Yes. I think that when you do your rinsing, you need to disrupt them and not let the roots start to go through. So you need to rinse them twice a day. You may also put a unbleached paper towel over the screen so that if they're resting on there, they'll go down to the paper towel and then they'll come up, hard to go through. But the big thing is you want to disrupt them. So a lot of people, just rinse them and then let them sit. And they can either get clumps or they can go through the screen. So I think it's important to take them and swirl them around. If they go through the screen, then what you have to do is you have to, get what you can on the top, scoop them out, etc. And then you need that dry brush, hard bristle brush, and you need to do some good elbow grease. And it's important to thoroughly clean them afterward, which is why I've been recommending, using glass jars and using cheesecloth, which you can then throw in the compost, reuse it, wash it, or the custom screens. But when you're using like the 64 ounce straight edge glass jar, you swirl them around so you're not letting the sprouts have too much time, no more than like 12 hours to grow through the lid.
Yeah.
I had wondered if maybe those stack-em trays were actually for growing microgreens, where you were, gonna cut them off with the scissor and let the roots go. But you've already addressed that you like the idea of eating the whole thing.
Yeah, and look, they're good. They're good. I think that they're kind of fancy. They can do a good job, and people have to develop their own level of what they want to, experience, and then they'll be able to get familiar with what they want to be able to do, and then they'll be able to kind of execute on it.
Okay, thank you. Then Joanne said that she's wondering if you have any tips about sprouting in hot climates since you live in the desert. And one thing that I've noticed, since we're in Northern California, and once the weather started getting a little bit hotter here, I noticed that when I'm sprouting, and I keep them on my sprouting jars on the kitchen counter, but I noticed that they're drying out a lot quicker than they did when the weather was a bit cooler. So are there any tips about sprouting in a hot climate?
I think when you're in a hot climate, you need to, if you have air conditioning, you need to set the air conditioning at 68 degrees, right? If you don't have air conditioning, if you're in the desert like I am, and you're using a swamp cooler, an evaporative cooler, or something like that, then what you have to do is during the peak daytime, put the entire sprout and sambo into the refrigerator and pull them out at night and have fans and circulation going, or it's just not going to work. So I would take the peak point in midday and then wrap them, put them in the refrigerator during the day and keep them out at night, keep them away from windows, find the coolest part of the house or the kitchen. They don't necessarily need to be, in the kitchen.
So 68 degrees is about the right temperature?
Yeah, I target 68. If you go above 75, then, they'll grow faster, but you could also get more complications.
Okay. Does it matter whether you have the sprouts out when they're sprouting, when you've got the seeds sprouting? Does it matter whether you put them in a dark place or keep them on the kitchen counter away from a window? Does it matter?
You're getting into very advanced stuff here, Tami. In general, right? In general, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
There are some seeds that benefit from being in the dark, but in general, for beginners, I would do them all away from direct sunlight and direct daylight. And I want to say we're winding down, from a time perspective. I'm back to back, believe it or not, Sunday afternoon.
Okay. Just a couple more questions for you, Tom.
Okay. Yeah, there were a number. We covered a lot of answers to questions that came up in the chat feed, and like Doug said, we're winding down here in our time allotment.
Yes.
So we're gonna let Doug go on to his next session, and then we'll answer what we can. After Doug moves on. So we're not going away. We just have to let Doug loose at a point here. On the subject you were just talking about, somebody's asking about a hot climate, if rinsing twice a day, maybe, was there a benefit to that so that things didn't, go sour?
I would always rinse twice a day. What I would also do is rinse with cold water.
So do rinse twice a day?
Oh yeah, I rinse mine twice a day.
Yeah, you can rinse 2 or 3 times a day, and you can also rinse with cold water. Right, even ice water, just to keep them going.
Okay, all right. Well, we will stay on. We'll try to answer more questions for people. And Doug, I cannot thank you enough. This has been so amazing to have you here and to talk about sprouting. And I encourage everyone, please follow Doug Evans on Instagram. You will learn so much. Please buy this book. You will use it, I'm sure, as much as I do, because If I have a question, I just go to the book, and guess what? He has the answer in there.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Oh yeah, and I carry this book around. Like when I'm going to go to bed at night, I bring it upstairs with me so I can read a little bit before I go to bed. And you know, I mean, there's just so much good information in here. So thank you so much for taking the time to write this incredible book and to be spreading the message about how healthful sprouts are. Because I mean, I thought I knew quite a bit about nutrition, but this brought me to a whole new level. And I'm just super excited to continue to learn more and to watch you on Instagram. So thank you so much for your time, Doug.
My pleasure. And Tami, I'll just throw in there that if people want to sign up for my email list, it's thesproutbook.com. So
awesome.
www.thesproutbook.com. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter. And secondly,
I'll add that to the show notes as well.
Yeah. And I had to audition twice. I recorded the Sprout book on Audible, and iMusic in my own voice. And there's like 120 page downloadable PDF. So you can listen to a lot of the wisdom and stuff, but all of like the charts and the graphs and the 40 recipes, they're all like in the downloadable PDF. So a good utility.
Oh, I love that, because not everybody are readers. Not everybody wants to do the written word. A lot of people prefer the audio. So that's fantastic. Well, great. Well,
Tami, Thomas, I really want to acknowledge you for just doing a great job. You're so prepared. You're so organized. You're doing a great service to the world. You can have me back whenever you want. You know how to reach me.
I do.
So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doug.
Okay,
take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now.
Bye. Oh, that was so fantastic. That hour just went by. I couldn't believe an hour was gone already.
It did go by fast. So
I'm sorry that we didn't get to everyone's questions, but I will tell you this. Doug is really great about answering questions on Instagram. So you can go to his Instagram account, and it's just Doug Evans on Instagram, DOGEVANS. I got to turn it the right way. And you can either leave him a question in the comment on his Instagram account, or you can direct message him on Instagram. And he's really good about getting back to people that way. So, and there was a question from Anne about saying that she loves sunflower sprouts. Can you sprout them, or are these grown in soil like a microgreen? And guess what? Microgreens are not grown in soil. You can actually grow the microgreens. When he was talking about just getting the unbleached paper towel, and you can put that over like a screen, or you can put it just in a dish that isn't real deep. And then he has all about how to grow the microgreens in the book. And you can also Google it. I'm sure there's videos on YouTube about it. There's also Facebook pages, Sprouting for Beginners, and different Facebook pages for sprouters that you can join. And so you can actually grow them without any soil, which is really great that you can do that. Also, the unbleached paper towels, I was able to purchase those at Whole Foods. The Whole Foods brand was the most economical one, and they are unbleached. They're still white. I thought that when I went to buy unbleached paper towels, I thought they would be brown, but they are not. They are still white. So, and I know Lola asked how many sunflower seeds are needed to grow shoots in a 12 by 9 inch tray. With a hemp mat, and I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to that, but do try to send that question to him on Instagram if you can. So also people were asking like what size mason jars are needed to sprout, and like he said, it all depends on how much you want to sprout at one time, but he suggests doing them in smaller quantities so that you can eat them up before they spoil. So in these little quart jars, I can do, you know, a couple tablespoons in these quart jars, and that works out great. And then
that was actually a question, was if you have a quart jar, how, and let's assume broccoli seeds, then how many
Yeah.
tablespoons would you do in
Yeah, so you can, I can do 1 or 2 tablespoons in this. So this was the salad mix, and I did 3 tablespoons, and this is day 5, so these are done. And this was the,
We're on,
oh,
let
I'm
me-
on
let me
that
switch
camera.
over. I'll
Sorry.
take care of this.
And
This
this
work
is
better.
the salad mix from Sproutman, and this was 3 tablespoons that I did. And this is a larger jar. I'm not sure how big this is. I've never filled it to see how much it holds. What are you
Hold the
guessing?
quart jar up to it for comparison
For
directly.
comparison. Yeah.
So it's 2 quarts would be my guess.
Yeah. And then this little jar, I usually only do like a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half in this smaller one. So I do like this bigger jar. If I'm going to do the broccoli sprouts or the salad mix, I like a bigger quantity because Tom really likes the broccoli sprouts as well. So the things that we're going to eat a lot of, I do like having this larger jar to be able to do that in. But, you know, it's nice to do smaller quantities in the little quart jars. And then these lids I do like because they have these little feet so that when I'm doing my rinsing, I can set it down like this. I've got to put it back here where they can see it in the sink, and it's not touching, you know, the bottom of the sink, so that I can just get some of that excess water out of them. And then what I do is I have these little holders. These are on our Amazon page because you want to have it at an angle like so.
It'll show up on the paper better.
Oh, well, I think it actually shows up better this way. And you want to have them at an angle so that you want air to be able to get in there and circulate. And then you also want them to be able to drain any excess water that's on there. And so I put these, I have like a long platter that I can set 3 of these jars along, and then I'll just put a paper towel on the base of the platter to catch the moisture that's in there. And so these have worked out really well. What I like about these little racks or easels, whatever they are, is that they tighten down. So they have these little knobs on the side so that you can tighten them down. And then I just keep them on my kitchen counter, and they're in like the middle of my kitchen counter. They're not getting any direct sunlight, but if obviously it's not dark where I'm keeping them at. And then we have, we did not have good luck with the seeds that we bought from the health food store. But then when I read Doug's book, because I went and bought them before I got his book, because I just wanted to get started, I was excited. Then when he said, you know, to get your seeds from a reputable company that's doing testing and that is growing organic seeds, then we ordered online, and we got some from Sprout People first. And then we got a big order here this week from Sproutman. And then we were also able to get a discount for all of you. So any question? Oh, I'm going to show them here. These are broccoli sprouts. And so we love these. So we will just eat these right out of the dish, like as a snack, or if we have them sitting out when we're making our salads, we just find ourselves grabbing some and eating them. We really love them. I took Doug Evans' lead. He said he does not bother to try to get all the little seeds that didn't sprout. He doesn't try to eliminate those. He just eats them. And it's such a huge time saver. The first time that I sprouted, I did rinse them. I put them in a bowl so that the sprouts would separate from the little seed. And it was so much work. And then everything got really soggy, and then you have to lay everything out on towels to dry. It was just too much work. We just eat them. We just eat the seeds, and it's not a problem. And then I just tried this for the first time this week, and this is Fenugreek. I hope I'm saying it right. And
where the focus is by your face.
Oh, well, yeah, but they can see it. Look, I can see it on the screen. It's perfect. And I had not done these before, but some of our subscribers had left me comments and said that they were sprouting fenugreek and that they really like them. They taste a little bit nutty, and they're just delicious. So I had Nori Wraps today, and I put a ton of these on my salad and my in my nori wraps. And these were really good. So this was something new that I hadn't tried before, but really delicious. So something, you know, there's just so many different things that you can do. And we just keep buying different items to try because just having a lot of variety is really fun. And mung beans are something that we've really enjoyed as well. So the hard part for me is figuring out how much to sprout at one time. You know, like we've had to throw a few things away because we didn't get them eaten in time. And so I'm cutting back on the amount that I'm sprouting and just sprouting more frequently so that there's less waste, because once you've gone to all that work, you don't want to have it go to waste. And I know people ask about the cost of it. And Doug Evans in the book said that like a cup of broccoli sprouts cost you maybe about 40 cents to make. And so it's actually really economical. And especially when you consider the boost of nutrition that you're getting from all of this. And that's what like super excites me. And he also talked about in the book about how it's very beneficial for weight loss because these are so full of fiber. They are extremely filling, and which I noticed with the chopped salads. I started adding them to my chopped salads, and I could no longer finish my chopped salad if I add sprouts to it because the sprouts are super filling. So any more questions in the chat feed, Tom?
We have a bunch of questions in
okay,
the chat feed.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
I need to take a drink.
Yeah, well, while Tami catches up there. I think Doug did answer a number of questions that were asked earlier in the chat feed. I'm gonna actually
I'm gonna move the mic over.
I'm gonna stay here at the
more
bottom.
Towards you.
I'm gonna stay here at the bottom and scroll back up.
Okay.
So let us know if there's any sound issue. I can get closer or speak up. So anyway, yeah, I'm at the bottom of the scroll. Joyce was asking, where are we sitting today? We have, yeah, we have guests downstairs. We have family downstairs in the kitchen and in the family room where we typically broadcast from. So this is actually my office. This is where I edit all the videos and prepare the newsletter and all that stuff. So we're actually sitting. This is my desk that we're sitting at.
We are.
And where I take all of Tami's great content and craft it into something that I can upload to YouTube and get to you folks.
Yeah,
so
we thought, where are we going to go? We can't broadcast today from the kitchen. Where should we go?
And so that's east. So the sun is in the west. So we weren't having to fight, you know, light coming through the window. So anyway, so we're all lit up and wired up upstairs here.
It works.
With all the usual studio equipment. We've got our whole studio up here with us. Because it gets broken down and put back up every week. Anyway, it's just a different location. So thank you for asking. Welcome to my office. There was a question about, Kathleen has asked how do you get the discount? And thank you, Randy, for posting our link. In the show notes is the link to the Sproutman store through our Nutmeg Notebook affiliate link. That's in there. They did make a Nutmeg 10% off discount code for us. And then there is an our Amazon link for Doug's book. And I would say all of the questions that were asked today, it's so easy to just have somebody tell you. I absolutely get that. All the answers are in this book. And then you did, those of you that were live when Tami asked him about sprouting in the dark versus sprouting in the light. I think it's mung beans that you sprout in the dark, and you can use those little boxes. This is a huge conversation. The whole sprouting adventure is much wider in scope than we had ever imagined, and the variety of seeds and the flavor profiles are much wider in scope. It is, you know, I have to say thank you to our subscribers that, you know, upwards of a year ago started asking us about, you know, are you guys going to get into sprouting? And as I composed in the email and in the YouTube show notes, we are sure glad that we did.
Yeah.
Because we're
enjoying it so much.
Adding sprouts to things, and it's just leveling up the texture, the flavor, the crunch. It's like everything tastes better with a few sprouts on it, or a whole bunch of sprouts if you follow Doug's advice.
Well, and he talks about in the book too how you will start craving the sprouts once you start eating them. And it is so true. You do start craving them. So like when we run out, I'm a little like, oh, I didn't time this right. We don't have any sprouts.
Well, this is
today.
like I have to stay on top of our rice supply, so you have to stay on top of our sprout supply.
That's right. I'm trying.
Jane is asking where where do you buy the jars? And Doug was emphasizing to just grab any quart jar from anywhere, wide mouth. You want wide mouth.
So if you're going to purchase lids, then you need to get wide mouth. And I would recommend wide mouth anyway to make it easier to get the sprouts in and to get the sprouts out. Because the sprouting lids that are sold, they are for wide mouth jars. So these are just canning jars that you can get them on Amazon.
We should put a case of those on our Amazon next to the lids.
You can buy these at Target and Walmart and hardware stores. And if you, some grocery stores have them, especially this time of year because of people gardening and canning. And so these are just canning jars. Or you can, if you have any glass jars from a marinara sauce or anything like that, you can use it, and you can just buy some cheesecloth and use a rubber band. And you would just put a couple layers of cheesecloth over the top of it, secure it with a rubber band, and you would be good to go that way as well.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy these big fancy jars. We did because we wanted to.
Well, I had this one. I had bought this one years ago when I first started sprouting years ago. And then we bought this one at the health food store. And I think it was like $5 or $6 for this one. But I didn't like the lid because the lid started corroding right away. It looked like it was stainless steel, but it wasn't. It was just aluminum or something. And so you can use any kind of jars that. Yeah,
Doug even mentioned scavenging like 1 gallon condiment jars from the restaurant or something.
Yeah.
And using a cheesecloth screen on top, because those are bigger than wide mouth. So finding a screen for those would be a challenge.
Yeah, and he has a whole chapter in here called Junkyard, and where he talks about what he went and scavenged because he wanted to see, what all different kinds of vessels could you use for sprouting.
Okay.
Another question.
Eileen Restmiller she sees these bags of sprouts. Her question is, what Sproutman sprouts do you have there on the counter, and which taste the best? Oh,
okay. Well, we haven't tried everything. So this is our second bag of lentil. We like sprouted lentils. Sprouted lentils are really delicious.
There's a lot of body in them. You're getting a lot of food.
Well, and what he talked about is these are going to be more high calorie. Because these are denser. The more dense and bigger and heavier the seed is, the more caloric it will be. But if you sprout these, this would eliminate adding canned or cooked beans or lentils to a dish or to a meal. This is the salad mix, and this one is alfalfa, broccoli, clover, and radish, which is really delicious. Now, I have a separate bag of radish, and I don't care for it completely by itself because it's really like.
It was fun to add to my salad, but it really spiced up the salad. They were potent by themselves. I don't know if that's the potent is the word, but I say potent. They were potent radishes.
They're like spicy, almost hot. I mean, think of a radish. A radish is. So the fenugreek is really fun. It's kind of nutty. I really like it. It's really delicious. So that's fun. Our favorite of everything so far, I think, has been broccoli.
It's kind of the universal, put it on anything.
Yeah, it's really delicious. It sprouts really well. I have the best luck with the broccoli and the alfalfa.
And Doug mentioned it had very high or the highest nutritional value.
Yeah. And then this is, I haven't tried this one yet, but this is the broccoli mix. And I'm trying to see, it is broccoli, radish, I got to get it here in the light, mustard, and arugula. So this should be really fun. This should have a lot of flavor, but I haven't tried it yet because we just got this order this week. This is our second bag of mung bean. Did I already talk about it? We like the mung bean. I just over sprouted the first couple times.
You got to watch the timing on those or they get you know, they get bitter. I didn't mind it, you know, eating the bitters. It did.
Yeah, but that's when they're starting to go bad, when they start to get bitter.
Okay.
So one thing that I read online was to taste them. Like Doug said, you can eat them at every stage. So taste them and see when they're good. And so I read that online, that like when you're sprouting mung beans or lentils, taste them every day. And then when you hit the sweet spot for you, that's when they're done. When they taste really great to you, that's when they're done.
Which one did he say you could start eating just after 24 hours, even before the roots started really spreading out? Was it the lentils you can get into early for fun?
And then the peas, this is a new one for us. We haven't tried this yet because we just got this one this week. So
you'll no doubt be seeing more posts on Instagram and Facebook, and probably further conversation here on YouTube about all things sprouting. Because
and we'll do a video too, because I would like to, you know, I just wanted to really get more proficient at it before we do a video. But also I've learned some little trips. I've learned some little hints and tricks that are making it a little bit easier. Like when I rinse them, instead of letting everything clump all together, I roll the jar so that the seeds stick to the inside of the jar and get spread out, because you'll get better sprouting if you let that happen. If you let them all gather in a clump, they're not going to sprout as well.
Oh, look at, you're buried behind all these bags.
I am buried behind all this stuff. And so, so that little trick has worked really well for me. I'll just set some of this stuff over here so I'm not so buried.
So we'll have more of that as we move forward. Nancy's
we'll do a video eventually.
Yeah, Nancy's asking, will all sprouts turn green, or can you eat them before turning green?
You could eat them before turning green, but what they recommend is once they are done sprouting, they've hit that sweet spot, go ahead and put them in like where they can get some more natural light. Put them closer to a light source, you know, closer to a window, because that's when they will start to turn green. That's when you'll get that chlorophyll. And so you see how these are nice and green, because the last day I usually take and set them on our kitchen table that last day, because we have like a bay of windows around the table. And so they get a lot of natural light all day long. And that's when they turn green, and that chlorophyll is really healthy for you. So, and plus it just makes them look really pretty.
Susan is asking, would a salad spinner be a better way to get rid of the excess moisture on the sprouts right before you put them in the fridge?
Some people do use a salad spinner with some success. Now, the one that I used to have didn't work all that great, and I think these would have just gone into the salad spinner. So what I do is I rinse them, and then I don't know if you can see this, I take one of those unbleached paper towels and I put it in the bottom, and I just let them, you know, let that absorb the excess water. But mine aren't super wet because I'm not putting them in a bowl trying to get rid of all the excess seeds. When you do that, they get really, really wet. And so then I would say lay out paper towels or a kitchen towel and spread the sprouts out on that and try to get rid of the excess moisture, and maybe put a towel on top and kind of pat them before you go and put them in a container. And you want to put them in a container with a lid and store them in the refrigerator. So doing that has worked out well, and they haven't gotten like no mold or anything. And a couple days into them, you should look on Doug Evans' web or his Instagram post. So a couple days into growing like the broccoli sprouts, a lot of people think that their broccoli sprouts have gotten moldy. Well, they have these little fine white like hairs that come out, and it's not mold. It's just the seed, and in part of the sprouting process, it makes these little fibers that some people are mistaking for mold, and so they're throwing them away. But you rinse, they fall off.
They're just root fibers.
They're just root fibers is all they are.
It's how they grab water.
Yeah. So, they're not rotten.
Did Doug discuss during his interview what kind of water
he didn't, but he talked about it. He talks about it in the book, And he said, you can use any kind of water.
This question's from JL, if you're still on here, JL.
He doesn't want water to be a reason why you stop sprouting or don't sprout. But if you have access to filtered water, that would be the preference, because then you're not adding, you know, chlorine and chemicals and other additive things, whatever, you know, they're using in your water system. And so we have a charcoal filter system on our refrigerator. And so the water from the fridge is what I use. I don't use any tap water for it. But if you have like a Brita or you have anything like that, go ahead and use that. That would be fine. But also if you only have tap water, he says that that's fine as well.
Yeah, we can, there's a noticeable difference in taste from our filtered water from our fridge filter system versus what just comes out of the tap. The tap water doesn't taste bad. The filtered water just tastes kind of fresher or cleaner or something. Could be totally psychological, but it feels cleaner to me. Question about sunflower seeds from Karen McNeil. She's tried it a couple times, had an issue with mold and slime, tried in a tray and in a jar, and only had luck with one batch in a jar. Any tips? We're going to order some sunflower seeds. We'd already have some now, but they were out of stock when I placed this order. So that is on our list of things to do, is to try the sunflower seeds. Were there any commentaries in the book or online you've noticed about?
Yeah, he talks about it, but I haven't read that yet because we haven't been able to get them. So, you know, like when we first started, there were different things that I wanted, but, you know, because sprouting has become so popular, things get sold out. Yeah. From the sprouting seed
and we're kind of like kids in a candy store too right now, wanting to try this and that and the other. So as we have successes and failures.
But look up, there's some, what is the Facebook group that Scott, our friend Scott's in, Sprouting for Beginners or something like that. Look up on Facebook. There are some sprouting Facebook groups where you can go in and ask a question like that, or you can do a search.
Did you post
in their
that
Facebook
on
page?
Facebook? Or
I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of it right now. But anyway, look, there's sprouting Facebook groups.
Scott, if you're watching this, or actually if you're watching this later, please post in the comments the link to that Facebook group.
If you hand me my phone, I could probably maybe find it on my phone. But those would be good places to go because people on those Facebook groups, they post videos and you can ask questions and you can do a search because they've probably already addressed sunflower seeds, but I don't have any information on that because we haven't done it yet.
Okay, there was a question from Sun Vegan. Doug mentioned you were in the book about sprouting in terracotta. I know that you can sprout on terracotta with chia seeds. So, because that's how chia pets work, because chia seeds kind of stick to the terracotta and the water seeps through the terracotta and makes the chia seeds grow. And there's absolutely no reason why you could not eat those as microgreens.
I can't remember if he talks about that in here or not, but he talks about different things that you can use to do the sprouting. I know Dr. B, who wrote Fiber Fueled, he has a terracotta stacking thing that he does some sprouting in, and he has shown that on his Instagram page as well. And also go to Instagram, you guys. There's also sprouters on Instagram. I thought I would have that in my feed here, the group, and now I'm not finding it. Well, I know I joined a Facebook group for sprouting and now I can't find it.
You belong to a lot of plant-based groups out there.
I do. It's so hard. Okay, I can't find it right now.
We will find that and post it
on Facebook.
Yeah, post it on Facebook. So follow Tami over there.
But also do a search on YouTube because there's a lot of people that are posting videos on YouTube. And also Doug Evans, he interviewed so many of the plant-based doctors who he asked all the same questions to, and then their answers are in here. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting. So many of them are sprouting, but it's not anything that they've talked about in their books or in any interviews that I've seen them do. And so it's like, wow, they've been keeping this nutrition powerhouse kind of a secret from us because, you know, I just think it's super amazing.
Okay.
So much nutrition in such a small volume and so easy to grow because anybody can grow. You don't have to have a green thumb. You don't have to have any gardening experience. You literally are creating a garden in your kitchen or whatever room in the house that you have. You can do it in your camper. You know, like if you're going to go and stay in a cabin for a few days or a week, you could take the sprouts with you and you could sprout while you're there and not have to worry about getting fresh vegetables.
Okay, Velma had asked earlier about, batches of seeds going bad before they finish. Any tips for what you might be doing wrong, especially with the small, round, dark red seeds? Small, round, dark red seeds, that may be radish. Doug mentioned during his interview that temperature is an issue, that there is a temperature range.
Yeah, 68 degrees is good, he said.
And up to no more than like 75, did he say?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a range because it's not 68 degrees in our kitchen. It's more like 72, 73.
Yeah, and things seem to do fine at that temperature.
So I think that's an issue of temperature and the frequent, 2 times a day
And you also
rinsing.
might want to sterilize your container that you're using. And he talks in the book about different additives that you can use if you are concerned about it. So that information's in the book, and I don't have that information off the top of my head because I haven't had any problems. And so I've just been putting everything in the dishwasher. And then you want to make sure that, you're washing your hands really well before you handle the seeds. You want to rinse the seeds really well before you have them sprouting. Rinse them, then soak them, and then rinse them twice a day. And he talks in here about different things that you can do to sanitize the water.
Linda is asking that she's having difficulty greening up her sprouts. Does Doug have any suggestions for greening them up? You addressed that a little bit, that you put them in a well-lit area on the last day.
On the last day, and that's what he recommends.
And then I also heard him say, it doesn't really matter if they're green or not. You can start eating them within 24 hours.
Yeah,
so,
but they look prettier and they get more chlorophyll when they turn green.
So you green them up in a well-lit area and then into the refrigerator after.
I don't put them in the window where the sun's going to shine
just on the table.
them, but I just put them on our kitchen table that has windows all around it, and they grow, get nice and green, and they just, they're more attractive. They look prettier that way.
Do sprouts, Daniel asked us, do sprouts tend to go bad faster than regular vegetables, or do they have a shorter shelf life? They can last up to like a week is what they say, but all of that depends on how wet they are, just like our salads,
how you're storing them, the temperature of your refrigerator, I would imagine. So he said just grow them in smaller batches. So he has multiple jars going at the same time, and he's just doing a smaller amount. That way he eats them up before they have any chance of going bad. And I found that to be a really good thing to do. So just, before you run out, start another batch and just do small batches and have them in various stages along the way.
Janet L is asking, how do you harvest a broccoli for seeds if you don't want to buy seeds? I think the prospect of harvesting those tiny little broccoli seeds from a broccoli plant or several broccoli plants individually would be quite a chore and quite a challenge.
Yeah, and what he said is that when you're buying them from a reputable distributor, then they've been tested for germination. That means that they know that they are going to sprout
and
for you.
Clean.
And they're clean, and they're organic. And so that just makes it just a lot easier.
And then early on, Vegana asked about the nutritional differences, and I think he covered that really well. That he talked about, sprouts have like everything in them, and then as they grow, you just gain fiber, and then once they grow into mature plants, then you're just eating the tops, but you're losing what might be in the roots.
Right.
Or roots, if you're from where I'm from. So anyway, I think he did a good job of talking to us about the nutritional merits of eating sprouts.
The phytonutrients, when the seeds are first growing, Mother Nature knows that they're very vulnerable. And so they have a lot of what's called phytonutrients in them. And that is to ward off pests and to be able to survive harsh conditions so that they have the opportunity to germinate and grow. And so in the infancy, when they're, you know, newly sprouted, I know he talks in the book about that's when like day 4 or 5, I believe it is, for broccoli sprouts, that's when they have the most sulforaphane, which helps to fight against cancer. And so, and then as the plant grows and gets bigger, then of course it's getting more established. So it has less sulforaphane then, and it has less phytonutrients because it's well established and it's hardier and it's growing. And so to get the same amount of nutrition, you would need to eat a larger amount of the broccoli than you do the broccoli sprouts. So I hope that makes sense.
Okay, there's been some new questions coming in while I was scrolling up and doing.
Okay, it's 5:33.
Yeah, well, let's kind of burn through
and
these quickly.
We do have company.
Beth Bishop is asking, is sprouting the same as microgreens sold in stores?
It's different.
The sprouts are the same. Microgreens are different. That's the harvested tops of little plants only.
Yeah.
And then Tracy Gaither, how do you sprout mung beans in jars? You're going to try that in those little boxes.
The mung beans, I haven't yet. I've only done them in don't talk about that because I don't have the details on how to do that.
We're going to be
the
talking
mung beans,
about how.
we just do the mung beans just like you do all the other sprouts, just in the jar. And you just soak them overnight and then you rinse them twice a day after that. And they're, we find for us, we really like the flavor on like day 4. And if you let them go much longer, then they start to get bitter. Yeah. And we just don't like them when they
and there's
get
some advanced techniques that we are not ready to profess about because we haven't tried them yet. And Doug actually pulled Tami back from some of those questions already.
He said that's getting too advanced. Don't go there.
It's not where you guys are right now.
And basically, you want to eat these raw and not because heat can damage them. And so, but mung beans are really hardy, and you can actually add the sprouted mung beans. You can add to like a soup or a stew or a hot dish, and they'll be fine.
Can you freeze sprouts if you overproduce?
I believe that you can. I think he talks about that in the book, or I read about it on Facebook that you can. And then if you're going to use these, I mean, they're not going to be crunchy then, of course, then when they thaw out, they're going to be mushy. But if you're going to throw them like in a smoothie or a salad dressing or something, then that would be okay.
Do you ever put sprouts in the cooked dish such as chili or soup?
Well, I just talked about that. I just addressed that.
I was reading questions.
I just addressed it.
Okay. All right. Jay Peter is here and he's in the group with Scott.
Oh, great. What's the name of the group?
So can we post the name of the group? I saw that in a scroll going by here. They're sprouting in microgreens, sprouting mung beans.
Yeah.
Are there any seed companies on the East Coast? I live in hot Florida and worry about them going bad. That's from Francine. We actually ordered ours and they came from Michigan.
I think so. And we're in California. So
yeah. So, and they got, what? These folks send them on like a 3-day FedEx. It came as part of our order. I ordered enough to get free shipping and it got shipped FedEx. And I ordered on Friday night. So they had to order first thing Monday morning and we got them on a Wednesday and we're in California. So check out Sproutman.
And of course, you can always email the company and ask them, is there any issue if they're in the heat for a couple of days? Ask them if that's a problem or not. That's what I would do.
Okay, Maureen, may I share the link to this video to our Facebook sprouting group, Sprouting the Beginner's Guide?
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you can just click on the link. Click on the link where it says share. It'll give you a code and then you can drop that in your Facebook. Absolutely, we encourage that.
Yeah, please share.
Only rarely do I have somebody hijack a video and try to put their own name on it. But no, that's called, we allow embedding.
And it is, here it is, the Beginner's Guide to Growing Sprouts. That's the Facebook group, the Beginner's Guide to Growing Sprouts. That's the group I joined.
That's Scott's.
I think that's Scott's group,
okay.
Same group. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. And yeah, here's Jesse's confirming that with Jay Peter. So
Jesse's right. We did bring along our fresh flowers because
Tiffany, yes.
We
right
always I gift myself fresh flowers every way. Which way do I need to go? This way. I gift myself fresh flowers every week.
I'm with you when it happens.
Yes, he's with me, so he's gifting them with me. And so we started including those in our videos, putting them in the back of the set. So, and Tiffany, one of our moderators, loves the fresh flowers. And so we did bring them up, especially for you, Tiffany.
Okay, Claudia's got a follow-up question because we were talking about putting the sprouts in the Bay Area to get green. Why wouldn't you put them near the window? Tami puts them on the table that is in the vicinity of the windows. What she was saying is don't put them in the direct sunlight coming through the window. That will cook them.
It would be too hot here in Northern California.
Yeah, that will turn the jar into who knows what. So they're just in a well-lit area. There's enough light there to get them to go green.
That's all it needs. But if I put them in the kitchen window, it would just be too hot.
Karen's asking, Tom, do you usually have such pretty flowers in your office? No. I have plants.
You like plants, though.
I have on the west side of the room, which is behind you guys, I've got a bunch of plants over there that are my charges up here. They're plants that I've had for literally decades.
So Tiffany says, thank you for bringing those flowers to today's setup. They're absolutely beautiful. You're welcome, Tiffany, in honor of your 18th wedding anniversary.
Okay. So, all right, everybody. I know that we've probably missed some questions. That was a fun-filled interview with Doug, and we have plenty more to explore with you. Just like,
and he said he would come back sometime too.
We'll have him back for a master class, huh?
Yes. And on the sprouting group for beginners, on that Facebook group, they do a Zoom call, a regular Zoom call for the members
a lot of information
of that Facebook group. And, we joined in on the first one of those right after I joined it.
They know a lot about microgreens there.
Oh, and they can tell you how to grow microgreens. They can tell you,
lots of hacks.
They have all the tips and hints, and they have a bunch of people who are prolific sprouters
from all over the world.
Yes, and who share in their kitchen. They show you everything that they're growing, and so there's so much to learn from there. And we are by no means experts on this, but we are plowing through it and learning and loving it and enjoying everything that we're eating.
This world of sprouting is a jungle out there, and we're happy to go into the jungle with you and find out what discoveries we can make. So let's
so again, where's Maureen's the Beginner's Guide to Growing Sprouts.
Yeah, just search that on Facebook.
The Beginner's Guide to Growing Sprouts on Facebook. Find that group and join it.
Here, Plant Power is saying Doug suggests keeping them under 75 degrees. And so,
or 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will slow things down during the day, but sprouting will happen at night. Okay. Oh, good information. Thank you guys so much. Moderators, Tiffany, Randy, Jesse, thank you so much.
Oh, they bagged 2 trolls today.
Woo, good job, ladies.
Yeah, Randy got one and Tiffany got one. So
that's awesome.
The troll hunting's been really slim pickings lately, so I'm glad we had a chance to catch a couple.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's true.
Such fun. Okay.
Really great. Okay. So that's it for today, you guys. Next Sunday is Father's Day. And in honor of Father's Day, we will be taking the weekend off.
We have a couple of dads in the family. So we'll be having a family gathering.
We'll be having a family gathering. Absolutely. Looking forward to that. So, moderators, you won't need to be here next week, but we will be here the following week, and we will be interviewing the ladies who started the Well-Being Company, the Well-Being Bars and Bites. And a lot of you ordered from them. They're so excited, and we're excited to have them on the show. And
they have it's a fun startup story. Yeah.
Yeah. So that will be really fun. So that will be in 2 weeks from today. And we look forward to seeing everyone there, and happy Father's Day to all the dads. And John, I realized when I got your email today that I had not answered your previous email, and I'm sorry. It's just been a very hectic week. But thank you to everyone who's been writing to us and telling us how much you enjoy the videos and the recipes. And there is a new recipe up on the blog. So go to nutmegnotebook.com and check out the smoky grilled portobello mushrooms. Those are
If you're
amazing.
registered on the blog, you have already received that posting, a notification that. If you're not registered on the blog, then subscribe and,
it's free.
And you'll be in the know, especially as we learn more about sprouting.
Yes, because we will post more about it as we learn.
Okay.
So I think that's everything that we have right now. I'm Tami.
And I'm Tom.
And we help you
get healthy and stay healthy, one meal at a time. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.